Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to challenge a mindset that has held too many women back for far too long. Society has praised being nice as if politeness and agreement were the ultimate virtues for a woman. But I am here to tell you that being nice at the cost of your purpose, your dreams, your voice, and your power is no longer an option. Being nice should never mean being invisible, being overlooked, or being manipulated. It's time to stop living for the approval of others and start living for the greatness within you. It's time to stop being the nice girl and start being the woman who commands respect, sets boundaries, and unapologetically steps into her destiny. Being the nice girl is often misunderstood as a virtue, a sign of character, and even a demonstration of godliness. But the reality is far more complex and requires deep self-reflection and understanding. Society has long applauded the girl who says yes when she wants to say no, the woman who sacrifices her dreams to accommodate others, and the one who suppresses her emotions to maintain a facade of peace. While these traits are often celebrated, they are not markers of true strength, influence, or purpose. The danger of being too nice is that it creates a pattern of compromise, a life lived in fragments, where you give away pieces of yourself so freely that you lose touch with who you truly are. It begins subtly. The nice girl says yes to every request, believing that approval equals love, and she underestimates the long-term cost of this pattern. Every time she avoids confrontation to keep the peace, she conditions herself to accept circumstances that do not honor her worth. She often believes that her worth is measured by how much she accommodates others, by how well she can serve, and by how little she causes discomfort to those around her. This mindset, although framed as virtue, actually hinders personal growth, suppresses natural leadership abilities, and diminishes her influence in areas where her voice is most needed. Being nice at all costs can disguise fear as virtue. It disguises a lack of self-confidence and an unwillingness to assert boundaries as kindness. The world often rewards courage, but the nice girl fears rejection, disapproval, and confrontation, so she tampers down her opinions, her ambitions, and her natural expressions. She fails to see that the cost of being agreeable is far greater than any temporary approval she receives. There is a deceptive comfort in being nice, a belief that the world will embrace you if you never disrupt, never challenge, and never express your needs too loudly. But life does not reward self-denial. Life rewards clarity, purpose, and boldness. Being nice without discernment becomes a form of bondage because you begin to measure your value by the happiness of others rather than your own fulfillment. Every time the nice girl avoids saying no, she sets a precedent, and the world comes to expect her availability, her tolerance, and her silent compliance. She becomes a convenient option for others and a diminished priority for herself. The pattern becomes cyclic, and before she knows it, she is exhausted, resentful, and unfulfilled, trapped in the illusion that her sacrifices are noble when, in reality, they are the seeds of her own limitation. The key is understanding that being nice should never cost your dignity, your purpose, or your influence. You can be kind, generous, and considerate, but you must also be firm, decisive, and unapologetic about the boundaries necessary to protect your integrity and personal growth. The nice girl often mistakes silence for wisdom, restraint for virtue, and accommodation for love. But the most powerful women in history and in life are those who learned the art of balancing compassion with assertiveness. They learned that saying no is not a sin, that disappointment is not a moral failing, and that setting boundaries is not selfish, but essential for their destiny. When you are too nice, you allow people to write your story for you, to dictate the terms of your life, and to suppress the unique gifts that you were created to share. Your influence diminishes because your voice is muted. Your authority is undermined because it is not asserted. Your potential is delayed because your priorities are constantly aligned with others rather than with the calling that rests upon your life. The transformation from being the nice girl to becoming the empowered woman is neither sudden nor easy. It is a process of awakening, a series of deliberate choices that require courage, clarity, and conviction. It begins with self-awareness, recognizing when your actions are motivated by fear of rejection rather than by genuine compassion. It continues with education, understanding the principles of personal authority, influence, and boundaries, and learning to apply them consistently in all areas of life. And it culminates in discipline, practicing the art of saying no without guilt, speaking truth without defensiveness, and walking away from situations that do not honor your value or align with your purpose. This is not about becoming harsh, cold, or unkind. It is about cultivating a life of integrity, strength, and authenticity. The world does not need more people who bend to expectations or dilute their power for temporary approval. The world needs women who are unshakable in their principles, clear in their vision, and confident in their worth. To stop being the nice girl is to embrace the reality that your value is inherent, not conditional. It is to understand that your happiness, fulfillment, and influence are not determined by how well you please others, but by how faithfully you honor your calling. Every time you yield unnecessarily, you sacrifice momentum, delay purpose, and allow mediocrity to claim space that belongs to excellence. The transformation also involves confronting internalized beliefs, those messages ingrained from childhood, culture, and society that insist a woman must always prioritize others, must never raise her voice, must always remain agreeable. These beliefs are not truths. They are obstacles that have been imposed upon you. You must examine them, challenge them, and replace them with principles that affirm your authority, validate your voice, and protect your destiny. Being the nice girl is often associated with low self-esteem because it substitutes approval for self-worth. The truly empowered woman knows that self-worth does not require validation from external sources. She understands that respect must be earned, not granted freely at the expense of her dignity. She practices discernment in relationships, choosing alliances and connections that amplify her growth rather than drain her resources. She recognizes that her time, energy, and attention are precious commodities and that giving them indiscriminately leads to depletion rather than empowerment. Many women remain stuck in the nice girl paradigm because they confuse fear with prudence and caution with wisdom. They hesitate to assert themselves in professional, relational, and personal spaces because they fear judgment, conflict, or rejection. But the price of silence and compliance is far greater than any temporary discomfort caused by assertiveness. Every time you choose to accommodate at the cost of your integrity, you diminish your influence. Every time you fail to set boundaries, you allow others to define the scope of your life. Every time you deny your own needs to satisfy someone else, you delay your own destiny. The journey to transformation begins with a single deliberate choice to embrace your power, articulate your needs, and protect your value. It continues with consistent practice of assertiveness, communication, and strategic prioritization. It flourishes when you surround yourself with people who honor your principles rather than exploit your kindness. In this process, you will learn to discern between genuine opportunities for generosity and manipulations disguised as need. You will understand that true kindness is not measured by how much you give away without expectation, but by how wisely you invest your energy in ways that align with your vision and calling. The empowered woman recognizes that being nice is a tool, not a rule. She understands that she can be warm, compassionate, and empathetic while simultaneously being firm, decisive, and unwavering in her principles. She learns that influence comes not from constant approval, but from clarity, consistency, and authority. She discovers that respect is commanded through integrity and courage, not through blind compliance or passive acquiescence. This transformation also requires accountability, acknowledging where you have allowed yourself to be taken advantage of, recognizing patterns of over-accommodation, and taking responsibility for reclaiming the authority over your life. It demands courage, because society often resists strong, assertive women, labeling them as difficult or unkind. But history proves that the women who embrace their power refuse to compromise their principles for approval and prioritize their purpose above pleasing everyone are the ones who leave lasting impact, who transform communities, and who live lives of fulfillment and significance. To stop being the nice girl is to understand the paradox that true strength is often mistaken for harshness and that assertiveness is sometimes misinterpreted as arrogance. It requires patience, discipline, and perseverance. Because the transformation does not occur overnight. It occurs in small decisions, choosing to speak up when silence would be easier, choosing to say no when yes would be convenient, choosing to honor your vision when conformity beckons. It occurs in the consistent practice of self-respect, in the recognition that your boundaries are sacred, and in the application of wisdom in every interaction. Every step you take away from the nice girl mindset is a step closer to freedom, influence, and purpose. You begin to see life through the lens of opportunity rather than obligation, possibility rather than approval, destiny rather than fear. You recognize that your value is not tied to the comfort of others, that your identity is not defined by external validation, and that your calling cannot be fulfilled by constant accommodation. The empowerment of a woman who stops being the nice girl is contagious. It inspires others to embrace their own authority, challenges societal norms that diminish influence, and reshapes relationships built on mutual respect rather than convenience. She becomes a model of strength and wisdom, demonstrating that kindness and authority are not mutually exclusive but complementary. This transformation is not about rejecting virtue, but about reclaiming power. Not about abandoning compassion, but about prioritizing integrity. And not about becoming hard-hearted, but about being discerning, strategic, and authentic. To stop being the nice girl is ultimately to stop living in fear, to stop measuring your worth by approval, and to begin living in alignment with your purpose, calling, and inherent authority. It is the realization that your life matters. Your voice matters, and your destiny requires you to act boldly, think clearly, and speak truthfully in every area of influence. It is the understanding that true impact is achieved not by accommodating every expectation, but by focusing on what truly matters, by protecting your time and energy, and by refusing to compromise principles for temporary comfort or approval. Being the nice girl without boundaries is a silent form of self-sabotage. But being the empowered woman with discernment is a declaration of divine authority over your own life, a statement that your potential cannot be diminished, your influence cannot be ignored, and your calling cannot be postponed by fear, compliance, or misplaced kindness. It is a shift in perspective that transforms interactions, relationships, and opportunities from spaces of obligation to arenas of purpose. It is an awakening to the truth that your worth is inherent, your voice is powerful, and your life is designed to influence, inspire, and leave a lasting legacy. And with this awakening comes the courage to redefine what it means to be kind, what it means to be compassionate, and what it means to be a woman of influence in a world that often mistakes submission for virtue. It is a conscious, deliberate, and ongoing commitment to live authentically, to speak with authority, and to act with intentionality in every decision, every interaction, and every pursuit of your purpose.